Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Layla, and for today's TikTok Tuesday video, we are going to be talking about saving your first $100,000. Now this topic was kinda sorta requested. I can't find the comment now, of course, but it was a couple of weeks ago, and she had asked if I can talk about saving money for a specific goal and saving it fairly quickly because she's having a hard time with it. And I want to say that she's trying to save for a wedding. But I'm specifically going to be looking at TikToks that are talking about saving your first $100,000. Now, personally, I don't think this should look like $100,000 cash, like in cash or in a high yield savings account, whatever it may be. I think this should be across your savings, across your investments, but the bulk of it in investments, just depending on your goals, just because it's going to be so much easier if you have your money invested compared to just trying to save your money in cash or even in a high yield savings account. Y'all have probably heard that saving your first $100,000 is the hardest, that's going to take several years, but then once you reach that, things kind of snowball from there and it gets easier. I actually disagree with that. I think the hardest step is going from a negative to zero. So personally, I had over $82,000 of debt, and going from that to a net worth of zero felt much more challenging than going from 0 to 100K. And to put some numbers and some timing on that, to get out of $82,000 of debt, that took me about 5 years, and I was pretty dedicated to getting out of debt. Now, I did still enjoy life. I literally documented basically my whole journey on this YouTube channel. So you can go back years ago and see where I was at, where I was even spending my money and how things looked. But that took some time. And then going from a net worth of 0 to 100K took me about 2.5 years. I feel like that went pretty quickly. Now, I will say that during that time, I was increasing my income. That was from my full-time jobs at the time and also from my side hustles, and that definitely helps. That would, of course, also help if you're paying off your debt. But when you're in debt, you have a lot of things working against you. You have interest on your credit card, interest on student loans, interest on everything. So you are making payments toward the debt, but it's also, your debt is still increasing a little bit because, not increasing overall, but it's still something working against you because the interest. Versus once you have no debt and have a positive net worth, everything is just going toward your future. The compounding is going in the opposite direction, which is why I found it easier. I do have a couple of videos where I talk about going from 0 to 100K. I will link those down below. I have one kind of sharing the whole process, like what that looked like for me, how I was able to do that in 2.5 years, and also one just like breaking down the timeline. So yeah, both of those will be linked down below. For my strategy this time with finding TikToks, I actually don't have any selected yet. I searched saving first $100,000, and I'm just going to click through these and see if I like them. If they make it into the video, then they make it into the video. And this is a little bit different than those Frugal TikToks that I was showing. I did that 2 weeks in a row. So I feel like you can still, of course, use those videos to learn how to save money, but I think this is going to be more strategy, and yeah, I'm excited to just see what people are saying.
These are the 4 biggest factors that helped me save my first $100,000 at 22. I don't come from money. My parents were immigrants from China, and from a young age, I always knew I wanted a better life for myself. This started in college when I started interviewing for internships starting in my freshman year. I made sure to have an internship every single summer to learn, gain experience, and make money. I grinded super hard in my second and third years to do bank and tech programs that were available to underclassmen, and in my junior year, I got an internship with a big tech company. And I'm not a software engineer. I actually do product marketing, and the work that I put in college definitely paid off because I got a full-time job offer from my internship before I even graduated college. By the time I graduated, I had around $30,000 saved from internships. I went to an in-state public university, so I didn't have any student loan debt after graduating. I lived in the Bay Area. For my first job out of college, my starting salary was around $110,000 with an annual bonus and a stock package. Second is that in the first year after graduating, I spent as little as possible. At my job, we have free food and free transportation to the office, so my food and transportation bills were pretty low that first year. I also took advantage of as many benefit perks as possible, especially the 401k match. I'm also really lucky that my parents live in the Bay Area, which is a really large hub for job opportunities, so I moved back home and didn't pay rent for a year. The third thing I did is use the skills from my internships and school to do freelancing and content creation. Because a lot of my skills were in business and marketing, content creation and freelancing was a good way to transfer my skills. business. So I started doing TikTok in my senior year of college when I graduated, and that calendar year of 2022, I made around $50,000. And then I made $40,000 from my day job because it only worked for around 4 months. So my net worth went from 30K to around 100K 8 months after graduating university. And the fourth thing is making sure my investments and savings were optimized. I keep my funds spread across a variety of high yield savings accounts, CDs, and investing accounts, and not in a checking account. So I always make sure my money is making me more money while I sleep.
If I could go back, I'm 30, I'll be 32 in less than 2 months. If I could go back to being in high school or early college days and apply for scholarships and do a better job with all of that, even if I could make a different decision around what I chose to major in, I would go back and change things. I mean, I'm glad I had the experience that I had because I feel like it's shaped me into who I am today. But looking at this, the key is starting young. And I know so many people are watching this that are probably not her age or not 18 and making these decisions. But if you are somebody who is watching this and you are late teen years or you are early 20s, like, you have so much potential ahead of you. So much. Way more than anybody else, aside from the people who are even younger than you. I mean, even if you're in your 30s, 40s, like, no matter when you're starting, there's still a lot of potential. But when you're in your 20s, like, there's just so many decisions you can make that will help your future self, and she did this perfectly. So having the internships, getting herself set up to have a solid job with bonus, stock options, that's crazy. And then it sounds like she was educated on investments and stuff. She took advantage of the 401k. She has a high yield savings account, CDs, investments. So all of that started at a young age allows for her money to grow even more because it's just time in the market. It sounds like she didn't fall victim to lifestyle creep, which a lot of people tend to. You know, they get their first big career, they start making a lot more money, and then they get a new car, they get a fancy apartment, but she stayed at home. She took advantage of the free food, free transportation, and that just obviously is going to help so much. And I really love that she called out using her skills. I think so many people can use that. Leverage your skills that you have. You don't just have to use that at your job. I know that there's some jobs that don't allow you to freelance. You have to sign like contracts and whatever to say that you won't work on your own doing the same things, but there's certain things that you can do. You know, if you are able to create content around the skills that you have, or and I know not everybody wants to create content, but I just feel like I just love content creation. I think there's so much opportunity, obviously, and she proved that herself. But even outside of content creation, there are so many other ways to leverage that, like helping others to land jobs with what you are doing, or just teaching a skill around it because you are skilled in it. There's just a lot of opportunity with what you already know. So I love this so much. Good for her.
If you're a girl in your 20s and you don't have minimum $100,000 saved up, we gotta go. It's showtime. Your dream life is built in your 20s. I just work a full-time job and I don't know how to do that. Let me show you. Let's say you work a full-time job. Okay, you're like a server, waiter, bartender. You may not think you have time to build your dream life, but you do. Girl, pull out your screen time. Like, mine is absolutely horrendous, but it's because I work on my phone all day. Let's just say yours is like a third of the time of mine, okay? Let's say you're on your phone for 4 hours doom scrolling. So instead of being a consumer and scrolling all day and making other people money, we're gonna make ourselves money by using those 4 hours to take sales calls. It's called high ticket sales. Some of your favorite online coaches that you probably already follow sell programs that...
All right, I'm going to stop this here because she's just promoting something that I don't really know. High ticket sales, that's... Anyways, however, I am going to keep this in here because I like the point that she made at the beginning. I know that a lot of people use their time after work as like mental recovery. You're tired, you're mentally exhausted, physically exhausted, whatever it may be. But if you really want something, whether that be to make a certain amount of money, save a certain amount of money, start a little business, become a content creator, whatever it is, you can absolutely make that happen. Now, I know there's some situations where you could be working crazy hours and finding the time to do that on top of working out, taking care of yourself, eating, sleeping, all of that, it can be tough. But So many people can. It just comes down to prioritizing what it is that you want and discipline. And I know it's easier said than done. I think this is something that's so hard to teach and instill in other people. I think it's something, for me personally, I feel like it kind of just came naturally, and I've just always been the way that I am. And so I always was working on making extra income from a young age. Like, I always wanted to be a YouTuber. I wanted a small business. Y'all know, I never wanted to work a 9 to 5 for my entire life. It was just a means to an end, and that's how I got to this point, because I just built my little business on the side, and it took a lot of effort. I had to work after 5 p.m. I would go to the gym, I would come home, have client calls late at night, I would edit videos late at night, I would be responding to comments, planning ideas, I would work on the weekends, and it allowed me to get where I am. So yes, I am going to leave this part in here just because I like that she said that. Just allow yourself to work 20% more. You know, it doesn't need to be, you don't have to commit to losing sleep, losing your mental health, not taking care of your physical health. Like, I always was consistent with all of those things, you know? And yes, it gets tiring, but if you just commit to a little bit more, give yourself an extra hour a day to work on your goals, not your 9 to 5, you know, or whatever it is that's like feels soul sucking to you, and you will go pretty far. Like, as long as you're doing it consistently, you'll go pretty far and you'll save more money.
How realistic is it to save $100,000? I'm seeing so many people on here who talk about finance be like, you made it when you save $100,000. And that number just feels so unobtainable to me. Like, I want to do it. That sounds like a great goal. But like, I don't know how to do that. For example, as a teacher, I don't see that money within like 2 years of work. So for those of you who are saying that, how are you doing it? What are you doing to save that money? Is there a place where I can be saving it? Like, I know there's high yield savings accounts and money market accounts. But like, is there a secret that I don't know of? Please help me out, because truly, I want to know. That's a goal I want to reach. It just, for the masses, it just doesn't feel super obtainable.
It's not easy, but it's absolutely obtainable for just about everybody, as long as you set that goal and work toward it. I know I kind of already talked about this, but I think, so getting out of debt is one thing, because when you're in debt, money is working against your situation is working against you. Interest is being gained on your debts, and that makes it harder to save money or to progress in your net worth. Saving your first 100K is not just about saving cash. Like I said before, I don't really recommend just saving 100K of cash unless you have a specific goal, like, hey, I need 100K for a down payment because I live in California or whatever the case may be. But it's going to be much easier if you are also investing money. So if you have an employer-sponsored plan through work, contribute to that up to the match. I have a video where I break down different investment accounts, so I'll also have that link down below. But that's one thing. Start investing with an employer-sponsored plan, and if they're matching your money, that's free money right there, and that's going to help you grow your net worth. Outside of that, if you can contribute more, if you can invest more, open up a Roth IRA and start contributing to that. For 2025, you can do $7,000, and make sure your money is actually invested. So you open a Roth IRA, and you also have to invest. So you contribute to it, but you also have to invest that money. Index funds, ETFs, REITs, whatever it is that you want to do. And aside from investments, yes, you should have an emergency fund. You get to decide how much that is, what that looks like for you. I also have a video on that. I can link it down below. But if you can work on lowering your expenses, so you do need to be budgeting, tracking your spending. I think the only people who don't need to budget and track are those who are like making a specific amount and they're like, this is my goal, I want to retire by whatever, I want to save for this, and then they are automating their savings and investments. So every month I am investing 1K or I'm saving 500 to my emergency fund, and I have my net worth is increasing month over month. You don't have to budget if you're in that situation, if you don't want to, but budgeting and tracking always will pay off. See where your money is going, reduce expenses or cut expenses completely where you can, work on increasing your income. So whether that be completely shifting careers, study something different. I don't suggest necessarily going back to school, but learn new skills and you can shift careers. I did that. I switched from biology and I went into tech. Or you can work on getting a promotion within the job that you currently have, raises, bonuses, that type of thing. Outside of that, you can have side gigs, driving Uber, picking up some DoorDash orders, creating your own little side business if you want to. If you have a skill, you can freelance that, sell the shit around your house because you're probably sitting on cash. And if you're reducing your expenses, increasing your income, widening that gap over time, each year, year over year, and then you are saving that money, you're not allowing your lifestyle to creep up, not buying the new car, not getting a fancy apartment just because you want to, you get what you settle for one that's still comfortable and safe. You're not buying things unnecessarily left and right, then you can save that money and your net worth will increase and you can get to 100K within a few years, depending on your situation. So I think y'all already know this, but just in case you don't know and you're asking this, then there we go.
Here are my 2025 financial savings goals as somebody who's trying to reach 100K net worth by the end of next year. A little bit of background about myself. I grew up with a single mom in a low-income household, and so from a really young age, I really wanted to learn about investing and figuring out how to break that cycle of generational poverty. And so I started investing when I was 19 years old, and this is kind of where I'm at right now, and my goal is to reach a net worth of 100K by the time I'm like 24. I made another video fully breaking down my current net worth and how it's made up, but right now I'm at 65K across my 401k, my high yield savings account, my Roth IRA, and my taxable investment account. So my goal for 2025 is to save up about $35,000. For my 401k, I'm saving $1,050 each month. So over the course of a year, it'll total up to $12,600. And then my employer does a 5% match based off your salary. So with the match, I will get another $5,200. I'm also maxing out my Roth IRA next year, so I'll be saving about $580 each month towards that. So that'll total up to $7,000. I'm also putting away another $500 for my taxable investment account each month. So that'll total up to $6,000. Lastly, I'm still building out my emergency savings, and so I'm putting $500 away in my high yield savings account, so that'll be another $6,000. That'll bring my total from all my investment accounts to about 36.5K for next year, which will put me at my goal of 100K net worth by the end of 2025.
She has a great plan, outlined it all. Now, one big thing that may affect her goal, which it probably is, I could go to her channel or go to her page and look, but the market has been down. Lately, it's kind of back to where it was at the beginning of the year, a little bit beyond that, but because of that, her net worth may not get to the 100K despite investing that much money. And I know that these numbers may sound crazy to some people listening to this, and you're like, I can't even put away $100 per month. But even if you just scale it down, if it is just the 10, 20, 50, 100 per month, start with that. And go back to a few minutes ago when I was just talking about what to do. And eventually you'll get to this point where you have all of these different accounts that you can contribute to on top of savings on a regular basis. And for her, she's focused on all these different things. If it just looks like, hey, right now I can only add to my emergency fund and build that up, plus I have a 401k through my company, so I'm going to contribute to that up to the match, and that's all that it looks like right now, that is fine. And then maybe next year you can start your Roth IRA. So just going step by step, breaking it down based on your goal and your situation, it's just going to be more realistic for you. I think sometimes people watch these videos and get discouraged because they're not at the same point, but everybody's situation is different. I absolutely did not have a 65K net worth at the age of 24 like she does. I had a negative net worth, and I didn't even start my journey until I was, I don't know, like 26 or something. So yeah, you don't have to compare yourself, but you can use these situations for inspiration for yourself and whatever goal you're working toward and for your situation.
I have a goal of saving $100,000 this year to put in as a down payment for a house for my husband and I and our family. And I thought I would update everybody on where I'm at so far in that goal now that we are a month into the year. So in the month of January, I managed to save $500. I don't monetize on this account yet. I'm still working on it, but I do have another account that I do TikTok shop with that has slowed down a lot since the ban. I think the algorithm got a little screwy after that, but hopefully I can get that back up and going and making as much as it did last year. I am also an Amazon affiliate, so I do have that as well. And then there's a couple other random avenues that I do make an income from. I am saving all this money from my income. My husband's income goes to pay all of the bills, so this is a goal that I have for me. So I have a lot left to go. But I think I can do it. I just want to update everybody. I want to be transparent and show you that big things are possible. And I'm going to make this big thing happen. But we're $500 down. So cross our fingers.
So this is kind of a realistic, every situation is realistic. You know, if somebody's doing it, it's realistic. But with this, I think one thing I want to call out is by having a partner that truly helps. I know the person who inspired this video is, I believe, if I recall correctly, she's saving for a wedding. So if you can live off of, and maybe you want to wait until y'all actually get married, but if you can just live off of one income, that is huge. Having a partner is honestly a game changer when it comes to finances, because if you can just live off of one income and the other is all saved and invested, if y'all are comfortable with doing that, then you can get really, really far and save money quickly. Yes, you may need to adjust things in your lifestyle, save a bit of money, reduce some spending in different areas, but you can get pretty far by doing that. And you can see that she is making some money online. I think the other thing too is people don't realize how much opportunity is on the internet to make money. So she mentioned Amazon affiliate. That's pretty easy to get into. Like, there's a lot of affiliates to get into. For example, if you purchase from any website and you have convinced anybody in your life to buy something, whether that be on the internet or family, friends, you probably could have made money off of that by signing up to be an affiliate with that company. Like, oftentimes I just sign up with even just like referrals with different companies. That's usually available for all sorts of people. You don't have to be a content creator, you know? If you're on a website and you're shopping, and if you scroll down to the very bottom of the website, you usually can see like partner program or affiliate program. Click into that and apply, and usually there's no strict requirements around it. Like, you can just sign up the same day and then send your link to people, and if they make a purchase, you get a small commission. And I know it's not going to be much at first. That's where I started. Like, I was barely making $100 per month. There were times where I was making just like an extra $20 per month from the stuff that I was creating online. But if you just start saving that, like, hey, every extra dollar that I make this month, I'm going to put toward my savings, and you'll be surprised how far that goes. So I wanted to call that out.
These are the things that we don't spend money on and that we cut out of our budget to help us save $100,000 for our house deposit and for our wedding. This was a few years ago now, so we're not in that season of our life anymore, but a lot of these we still do and still live by. First one, some people are going to hate, but no beauty appointments. No nails, no lashes, no waxing, limiting hair appointments. Those appointments add up real fast. Also, no paying full price for groceries. Obviously, within reason, there's some things that just simply never go on sale. But opting for seasonal fruits and veggies, shopping the sales section when it comes to meal planning, and not giving it into that instant gratification. There's often times where I'm like really craving something like a chocolate bar, for example. Unless it's on sale, I'm not buying it. I know that in a week's time it will go on special and I'm gonna have it then, but until then, like, what's the point of paying full price for something? Again, kind of going hand in hand with that, no paying full price for clothing or beauty products either. If something is full price, make sure we find a discount code or use shopback and get cash back for our purchases. One thing that we completely cut from our budget when we were in our savings era, and even now we rarely use it, is food delivery, especially if we can just hop in the car and get there. I know it's convenient, but if you want to save money, like, you're not paying for convenience. You need to cut that out. Not only are you paying for the food delivery, you're also paying for any extra charges, and the restaurants will up the price of the product as well. So it's always a couple dollars more than what it would be if you actually went in there and purchased it. And last one is no subscriptions except Netflix. I actually just went through and canceled all of our subscriptions apart from Netflix, and we have the cheapest option. It's $10 a month. It does include ads, but again, we're not here to pay for convenience. We're here to save money. Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to instantly buy a house just from cutting these things out of your budget. It's giving it boomer energy. Don't buy avocados, don't go get coffee. Like, obviously, it's not going to happen overnight, but I think you also have to look at the bigger picture, and I think this is one thing that's kind of missing. It's really easy to be like, oh, it's only $10 here, $5 here. Those little transactions are what create room in your budget and will add up so quickly over time.
Yep, that coffee looks good. Now I want a nice coffee. Love this. It's pretty straightforward. It's really nothing complicated. It's nothing sexy. Like, there's no secret to saving money. This goes back to the Frugal videos. Like, if you want some ideas on how to save some money, I highly recommend those videos too. Or even if you are on TikTok searching, trying to get on the side of TikTok where people are talking about underconsumption, normal consumption, saving money, being frugal, all of those things, because you can get a lot of ideas, and just surrounding yourself with that energy instead of all the people who are consuming stuff on these apps, that's going to help. It's going to help tremendously, I promise you. The biggest one that she mentioned here was the food delivery. Y'all know how I feel about that. I've talked about it many times. I have a whole short on it where I compared Chipotle, if you ordered through the app and went to pick up, versus ordering on DoorDash or even ordering pickup through Chipotle's app, and they increase the price by, I don't know, 20% or so. And then you have to pay for delivery and pay for a tip on top of that. And it literally, you can buy double. You can buy a whole nother burrito or a whole nother bowl if you didn't do delivery. So I absolutely agree with that. Don't pay for convenience if you do not need to. And all the little changes start to add up. Like she said, it's not going to be overnight, but with time, it'll make a difference.
Would you believe me if I told you that saving your first $100,000 is going to be the hardest part of your journey to $1 million? I have 6 younger siblings, and depending on the day, 1 or 2 of them listens to me when I say, keep investing. I know if you don't even have your first $1,000 or $10,000, it seems insane to think about your first $100,000, but you have to think long term. You are capable of saving $100,000. You have to be someone that's disciplined, to show up every day and act like someone who is saving money would act, which means tracking your transactions, investing, living below your means, increasing your salary, negotiating everything in your life, your medical bills, your credit card bills, your phone bills. But I want to talk about this example so you can get a visual of what I mean. So let's say you're saving $10,000 a year with a 7% annual return. It would take you almost 8 years to save your first $100,000. Some experts say that you should ideally have your first 100K saved by your mid-30s, but truly there's no timeline. If you did start investing 10K at the age of 25 and got at least a 7% return, you would hit your first 100K by 33, meaning you would hit your first million by age 55. You can see that after you hit your first 100K, each 100K milestone takes even less time because your money is making money for you, and that's compound interest working in your favor. The craziest part about this chart to me is that once you hit 600K, you'll see that it takes less than 2 years for each 100K after that. I know if you're just starting out, it can feel really overwhelming to think about saving $100,000, so break this down into easy, digestible goals. Maybe your goal this year is to get to 1,000 or 10,000. Pick a number that works for you. Everyone's journey is different. If you can just have $100,000 in the back of your head and know that as soon as you reach that, it gets so much easier, maybe that'll give you the motivation you need to start investing and saving your money.
Love it. Great example. And I disagree with the first part. I think getting out of debt is harder. We already talked about that. The other thing too is a lot of people say that once you reach 100K, your net worth skyrockets. Like everything is so easy. And I also disagree with that. I think my situation is a bit different though, because I reached 100K net worth, and then a few months later, I quit my full-time job and became self-employed full-time. And because of that, I significantly reduced how much I was investing. Now, had I hit the 100K and stayed at my job and kept up my side hustles and made all the money that I was making then and continued to invest and save at the rate that I was saving then, yes, I think it would have been super fast. I mean, it's only been like a year since then. But I know for me, 100K to 200K is still going to take some time because I'm investing less. That is why I'm actively working on increasing my income. And the same can apply for anybody. Like if you are lower income or just maybe you are out of work for some time, don't make money, and whatever your situation may be, it just depends. But yeah, this is a great message. Just keep that in the back of your mind, even if you're just starting. Like you will be able to get to 100K. And then once you reach that, yes, technically your money should grow faster if you keep things consistent. You keep on investing or even increase the amount that you're investing and saving, and your money is going to be working for you. So the money that's in the market, you're going to have dividends that's going to get reinvested, or if you choose to do that, which I recommend that you do, and then that money is going to gain money. It's compound interest. So perfect.
My goal is to get $100,000 by the time I'm 25. June of 2024, I had $56,000. It is February of 2025, and I have $73,000. Wow. I did my finances today, and I did all the money I have minus all my credit cards. It literally blew my mind how much money I have made in not even a year yet. After doing my finances, I'm projected to hit $100,000 by the time I turn 24, which is a year earlier. Let me break down how I did this. I got a raise at work, and I also got another job. June of last year, I had 2 jobs, and then now I have 4 jobs. 3 out of 4 are remote, so I can do them on the side of doing my full-time 9 to 5. I also got a raise in my 9 to 5, and I also got a raise at my social media job. That definitely impacted my savings. I also was able to get into the 401k with my job, so they do a 3% match. And then I maxed out my Roth IRA last year. But every time I get like a large chunk of money, so my tax refund, a bonus at the end of the year, birthday money or something, I will pretty much divide that money based off whatever my goals are. So with my bonus at the end of the year, I did 10% towards just fun, travel, whatever I wanted, so I can at least enjoy a bonus because I worked so hard for it. I did 40% towards my moving at the end of the year with my boyfriend. So I'm saving for furniture, for an increase in rent, and then 50% I did towards my Roth IRA. So I was able to max it out with my bonus. I already have my 6 months emergency fund, which is a little over $24,000. So that is a projection of 6 months if I lost my job, if I lost all my incomes, how much my life costs basically. Once I prioritize maxing out my Roth IRA and my 401k, that's when all my money will go towards ETFs and stocks. And now I want to become a millionaire by the time I'm 30. I'll be married, so I will be.
I am so proud of her. To be that young, oh my God, I love this so much. Like, it makes me so happy to see young people making smart financial decisions because I don't think that's the norm these days. I wanted to see if she replied to some of these comments. How do you find remote work? She said all through friends. What remote jobs do you have? Social media, customer service, and property management. So it sounds like she worked on some skills outside of her 9-to-5. Customer service is one that you can, like, it's not a fun job, but that is a remote one. That's a remote job that you could potentially get and work after your 9-to-5. I'm so proud of her. I don't know what her full income is, but having 4 jobs, that's great. And I would imagine that at this point, she's going to start monetizing on TikTok or on one of her social media accounts. So there you go. Wow. I don't know if y'all could see the text on the TikTok, but she was working from 7 a.m. until 4 p.m. as a barista, going home, and then working from 10 to 7. So that's pretty crazy. This is not a level of commitment that I'm willing to do. I think I've actually known quite a few people who have worked 2 full-time jobs simultaneously. So they're 2 remote jobs, and they were able to get away with it. Either they had, like, their managers knew they were working 2 jobs, or they were being secretive about it. And I think if you can do that, then you do that. As long as you're able to stay on top of everything and you're not, like, breaking any major rules. Even if you are breaking some rules with that, I think you should do that if you can manage it. But this, to me, is dangerous. Like, you're probably only sleeping for maybe 5 hours if, like, literally you get home at 6 p.m. She also has a dog, so she needs to eat dinner, go to bed, wake up before 10 so she can go to her second job. So she's getting like 3 to 4 hours of sleep a day. Not something that I would do, but I think if you could have a second job that's a part-time job, there you go. This is crazy. There were so many times during my debt-free journey that I almost considered getting a second job, but I never fully committed to it. Like, I would always look on Indeed and see, like, night shift available or if there were jobs that I could work from like 5 to 9 p.m. or 5 to 10 p.m. The ones that I really heavily considered were Sprouts Farmers Market, so like a grocery store, serving on the weekends, because I lived next to a First Watch cafe. So I was like, okay, if I could just work from 7 a.m. until like 4 p.m. on Saturday, Sunday, that might be some good money because they close early. The third one that I considered as well was front desk at a hotel. But then it would have been like night shift. And I was like, that's kind of sketchy and I would be scared. But I really heavily considered that for some time because I was like, this would work perfectly with my schedule. Because I would get to my full-time job as a microbiologist around like 7 a.m. and I would finish by like 3:30 depending on the day. And so I was like, okay, I could start a second job at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. easily, work till 10 and repeat, but I never did it. I would love to hear, comment down below if you worked second jobs. I think if you do that, like I always was working on my business, you know, so I was making some extra money, but an actual second job I did never do. But I always love to hear about people doing this, like reading stories that I found online, blogs, YouTube videos. I think it was so cool. So let us know if you did that.
This is my current net worth as a 23-year-old who has the goal of reaching a net worth of $100,000 by next year, so 1 year from now when I'm about 24 years old. Background about myself is I did not come from money. I grew up with a single mom in a low-income household, and I've been working 1 to 3 jobs since I turned 15, and on average, I worked 2 jobs while I was in school. My main goal with this video is just to show that anybody can build wealth and learn about personal finance. It doesn't matter where you came from or how much you know, you can literally start today. I began my investment journey when I was about 19 years old because I grew up with very little money and I knew my entire life that that is not how I wanted to live. I wanted to learn as much about finance and figure out how money can work for me. I went to school with a lot of people who did come from wealth, and I feel like I'd always heard them talking about investing or real estate or the other ways that their parents use money. And so I started learning about finance as early as I could. I started investing when I turned 19 during when the pandemic hit. And so I did get a little bit lucky with timing just because I invested when the market was so low, and that wasn't intentional. It just ended up being happenstance. To start off, I have $32,800 saved in my Roth IRA. I also have another $19,600 saved in my individual brokerage account. I have an additional $5,600 in a 401k account from my internship last summer. And then I have $1,500 in my current 401k, which is with the current employer I started working with about 3 months ago. Lastly, for my cash, I have $5,800 saved in my high yield savings account, and I'm going to continue building this out as an emergency fund over the next few months. I also don't have any debt because my schooling was paid through financial aid and additional scholarships. So any jobs that I worked while I was at school went towards paying for like necessary expenses like food or rent, and then the rest of the money went towards investing. So I saved up a lot of money when I was in school working additional jobs for my investing portfolio. My goal is to reach 100K by 2026, so I have to save about $35,000 over the next year, and I can post my 2025 financial savings goals in another video.
Nice, beautiful. Another young lady who is financially set if she continues this way, financially educated. I love to see it. Again, we're seeing multiple jobs. We're seeing smart decisions at a young age. I know it's not feasible for everybody. Also, notice she doesn't have debt. So I know sometimes this isn't like, oh, I'm not in this situation. But if you are similar to these situations, yeah, it's great to see.
I always hear people talk about saving your first $100,000 and what a huge impact that has on your personal finances. I, however, think that saving your first $10,000 is one of the most important things that you can do. The first reason, and probably one of the most important reason why saving that first $10,000 is so important, is because it'll prove to yourself that you can do it. And the second reason is that now your next financial goal will seem way less daunting.
True.
So instead, if you're starting from zero and your goal is to save $25,000 or $50,000, like that is a big number. So if you can establish that $10,000 goal first, it'll be so much less daunting to get into those bigger numbers. And the third one, which is arguably the most important part of this, is the fact that you're creating and you're building good habits around saving. Because if you're aiming to save that first $10,000 and you manage to do it, you've already started such an amazing groundwork for saving and investing. So don't forget that that first $10,000 that you save is a huge milestone, and you should be proud of yourself.
Even 1,000, 2,000, like work in stages. This became a big trend on YouTube, the videos around like how saving your first 10K like makes this huge difference as opposed to 100K. So there's tons of videos on this on YouTube, and I agree. I think getting to that first 10K of like cash savings even is pretty life-changing. Like you just feel so much different. You feel like stable and like you can do anything, I suppose, because you did prove to yourself that you could do it. Okay, let's do a couple more. I feel like I just keep going.
Here are some extreme sacrifices I made to save $100,000 at 19 years old till now at 26. Part 2. I have never bought a luxury bag before. I only have these two, one from my mom and one from my best friend. And no, I did not ask them to buy it for me. I only have one pair of running shoes. I got these in 2018. It does have a little hole in it. It's been 7 years. I'm currently on the hunt for my next pair. I also completely stopped buying new clothes for 3 years. Here's a picture of a gym outfit from 8 years ago. I still have it. Honestly, slay, but I do need to mend it again for the 50th time. Also, like this video and follow me if you have financial goals and you need to be de-influenced. Here's
love. That is so, I'm gonna follow her. I don't think not having luxury bags is extreme. I have 0 luxury bags because I have no desire to have any like I have no luxury brand whatsoever. So to each their own, but that is a way to absolutely save money. If you just have cheaper taste, for lack of a better, just like less expensive taste. You don't need to have designer. I don't think they're worth it. Now I do have like Nikes and Adidas, and that's different. But yeah, designer stuff never caught my eye. I would say the shoe thing is pretty extreme, just because that can be really bad for you. I don't really agree with that. If it's absolutely like you cannot afford a new pair of shoes and you're like a runner, you're actively using those shoes, you can actually hurt yourself in the long run. You know, you may end up injuring your feet, your legs, your hips, something like that. I just don't think that's worth it. I like to have new shoes for, like, if you're a runner, you need to get new shoes every so often. I'm not a runner per se, but I still get new sneakers because if they're not supportive and they're hurting my feet, And I love the example of her keeping clothes, not buying clothes for 3 years. One, that's huge. So many people would benefit from doing that. And then just keeping clothes. I also have some clothes in my closet that are over a decade old. Like I used to wear them, maybe even in high school, but at least in college. And there's still some times that I wear them. So especially for those pieces that you don't wear as often. Like if you have a puffer coat, for example, and you live in the South like I do, you probably don't need to buy a new puffer coat every year. Like the one that you have is going to last you years. Like you can just keep it for probably over a decade and not need to buy another one. It's not even like a cute article of clothing anyway, so there's no point of like trying to get with the trends. So certain things like that where you can get away with like just keeping the same one that you have.
This is how I saved my first $100,000, and this is coming from someone where 5 years ago I was in debt and I had $0 to my name. So my first tip, and this is definitely the biggest one, is increasing your income. So when I was serious about getting my financial shit together, I increased my income through additional side hustles. I started posting on social media, and now this has become my full-time job. My second tip, which is something I do to this day, is budgeting and tracking your spending. I do this meticulously. Doesn't matter how much money I make, I will still continue to do this because it's so important. And my third tip, which is definitely another big one, is making sure that you're increasing your saving ratio while your income is also increasing. So last year, for example, I think I was managing to save about 30% of my income. This year right now, I'm on track to save at least 50%.
Does she sound like me or what? Like literally the exact points that I've gone over. There you have it. I'm going to stop there because you can kind of see that there truly is no secret. So if you are increasing your income, reducing your expenses, paying attention to your finances, investing your money, then it will grow. You will eventually get there. And even if you're just working on saving money because you want to pay for the wedding or pay for a travel trip, whatever it may be, the same thing applies. And save your money in a high yield savings account or even in a CD or a money market account so that your money goes a little bit further and is still accessible. But at the end of the day, finances and saving money, it's simple. It's all very, very simple. It's not easy, but it's very simple. And hopefully if you are somebody who's working on your first 100K or just trying to save, trying to invest more, this was helpful. If you're watching this and you're like, I'm really good at saving and investing, comment down below your best tips for saving money, maybe specifically for goals that you were working toward. And let us know. Did you do any crazy side hustles? How many jobs were you working at a time? How did you cut back on expenses? I would love to hear it, and I think it would be helpful for anybody who's curious. But otherwise, let me know if there's any topics that you want me to watch TikToks on and react to. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one.